So welcome back to the channel. Today it's kind of an odd video again. Pretty much I have been compiling some footage of a dash that I installed actually a couple months ago now, because I take it apart. So for those of you guys that need to replace your LED modules or maybe your fuel gauge, which is the whole bottom plate, you can do it or kind of see what you're getting into. So pretty much on here, what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna take off the dash, pull the old wire out, put the new wire in, run it, zip tie it all the way to back to the transmission. And then I'm also gonna show you some old footage where I took apart this dash to put this inlay in here with the small numbers like that. The one that I had purchased from Casper had the long lines and the numbers like way up here, and aesthetically I didn't like it. And it just so happened that one of the guys at Anderson's had this one for sale, and this one just looks better. So what I did is I installed my LEDs in it and put this inlay on it, but I kept the Casper's backboard and all the good jazz. So now that I finally got around to replacing the Speedo cable, which is good, the only problem I have is that the one that I have in there is clicking at the joint because it's a two-piece cable. I don't know if it was something for ease of installation at the factory or whatever it was, but yeah, it still has the original cable and it's starting to click. And you know, I know it's the cable because every time it starts clicking you can actually see the needle bounce. So yeah, I'm gonna take this apart, put the new cable in, show you the old footage, and go. And then we're gonna start by removing the bezel here. That's pretty straightforward. Pretty much just find a good spot where you can get a good leverage on it and without twisting it much, because you don't want to break it. Two hands available while you do this, because it gets caught on everything, and on top of that I have the indicator on top of the column, so it makes it just a little more difficult. Another thing I'm gonna do is that I gotta retape this plastic thingamajigger that they put at the Casper, on the Casper dash. On the old footage that I'm gonna show you, you're gonna see that the factory design and this one, they're different. And the downfall that I figured out on this one, there's actually a couple downfalls. One, it's glued on and you can actually see the glue strips right here and right there, or actually right here, right there and right there. And lucky for me, I put a piece of tape on the top because I wanted to prevent dirt from getting in there, which it did what it's supposed to do. By preventing dirt from getting in there, it also held this up from falling out, or leaning forward and falling out, because this is actually a little more recessed than the stock one. And what I figured out is that with the heat, this glue just comes undone. Like right there is glued again, but it's just a flapping in the wind. So what I'm gonna do is that eventually I'll find another stock style plastic, glass, whatever you want to call this, and I'm gonna put that on, because this is actually getting annoying. But for the time being, I'm just gonna tape it around like I did on the top. This tape is the only thing that's prevented this piece of plastic from falling out. Now the other downfall that it has is that the stock plastic has it's a little concave. And funny enough, I realized this when I drove to Texas. It not being concave makes it the perfect reflecting surface for anything that reflects light. So the ignition, the key in the ignition, the tilt lever, hell, even the wiper lever, all this stuff is constantly reflecting light and blinding me. So what I ended up doing, I don't know if you noticed this, but I shoved a piece of paper in there when I was driving to Texas, just to change the angle of it a little more, so it wouldn't be reflecting my face. Because if you see from the sitting position, you can actually see right here the reflection of everything here, and that's pretty much what I see while I'm driving. So yeah, it makes it kind of annoying. It also makes it hard to see the numbers. So definitely going back to a stock style plastic, or whatever the hell lens you want to call that. And yeah, but anyways, going back to the task at hand here, I'm gonna be taking off all these screws right here, black ones, 4 of them. and I'm going to remove the dash and replace the Speedo cable. One more thing, if you want to make your life easy, like for example, if you don't want to pull the dash out to replace any of these lights, you can actually just take these covers off here and replace your light bulbs kind of by just pulling them out with the needle nose and then put them a new one back in. Just got to be careful not to break them. The other thing is that right now I should be doing it, but I'm being lazy because I don't want to have to take this shroud off. But if you take the shroud off, you can actually reach back there and unplug the cable or whatever if you're kind of in a rush. I've already have all my wires kind of extended, so for me it's actually slightly easier. Right now the only thing holding it is a Speedo cable, and by the looks of it I'm probably gonna have to pull it out anyways to make it easier on myself, or maybe not. Nope, I have to because I don't want to scratch it. Well, I got the shroud out, and as you can see, just makes it a lot easier. I didn't want to do it, but I'd rather work smarter, not harder. But anyways, so now that that's out, you can actually see back there the Speedo cable, and this thing has a tab that you gotta push down against the back of the dash, and once I push it down, come on, one hand, push it out, bam. Oh, that didn't go as planned. Push the tab and it should let go of the Speedo cable. There we go. So now that that's out, I can actually move this over to the side a little bit, and I can show you here what it looks like back here. So anytime you mess with this, you have two harnesses. Actually, you have three harnesses back here that make it really difficult for you to work on. The most important one I would say is this one, which is like a light sensor. Pretty much this is what counts this is what creates the pulses every time this little metal tab spins around, every time the cable spins it around while the tires are moving. Then you also have the check engine light, which has its own harness, and the harness for the LED RPM gauge, which on mine they're both already elongated, so I can actually push this out this far. Usually you'll get it a couple inches out and you won't be able to move it, but like I said, I've messed with this enough that I've facilitated this just in case I ever have to go back in here. And this is something that just takes time, so just take your time when you're doing it. Now I'm just gonna go and pull the wire out the back from under the hood, and yeah. So this wire comes out of this grommet right here. Some time ago I took the liberty and took it off, cut it, and that way I can remove the grommet and actually run wires or whatever, and then trim the grommet and put it back on. Make my life easy. This is the Speedo cable. As you can see it here, this is the two-piece design. There's the second half, and now I'm gonna go to a single piece or a one-piece cable. Here's the two cables side by side. Obviously one's the new one, one's the old one. The main difference that I've noticed here is that this one has this I don't even know what to call it, but it'll prevent it from kinking right here, and it looks like it's removable, so I'm going to take it off and put it on the new one. And obviously this is the two-piece. Here's the new one. On mine, with the bottom half is what's bad, but they don't sell it, so you just have to replace it with a single, which should be a lot easier to run and a lot less unsightly under the hood. And then the other big difference I noticed is the size of the cup, but I already test fitted it. They both fit. This cup is just a lot longer, but other than that, it's the same diameter, and ultimately it looks like it fits the same. So yeah, this is a 101-inch cable, and I think you would be able to get away with a little shorter one, but then you'd have a tighter radius coming out of the firewall. So 101 is the size you need, and technically you could use any 101 cable that has these two ends. Both of these are ACdelco cables. This is what came with the car from factory. This is the one that I just purchased, and it's about $30. ACdelco off of eBay, free shipping. Came in an ACdelco box and part number and everything. So, all right, so old cable's pulled out. I started running the new one, and pretty much I'm running it under everything here, and then I'm lifting up the plastic with a screwdriver here. As you can see, just lifting it up just enough that I can actually reach in there and guide it over the frame. And yeah, so push it down a little bit from up here. You can kind of turn it and just feed it. Use the cable to your advantage and feed it without bending it. And there you have it. So now I pretty much revert everything I did, and that's installed. On the bottom I did have to take a clip out of the cross member, which I'll put that back on and then screw it back onto the transmission. I just so happen to have an extra one here, and so if you're not familiar with what's going on down there, pretty much that other end of the cable goes to this. Here's where the one end of the cable goes, and the other end goes to the back of your dash, which I've shown you. But yeah, pretty much that's it. I'm gonna button this up. I don't need to bore you with that. I'll leave you guys with the old footage, and I hope you find it helpful if you want to do LED conversions, or if you have a bad RPM boost gauge, you can replace it. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe and hit the like button.